Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're setting off on a bit of an exploration into Middle-earth.
Yeah, we're doing a deep dive into J.R.R. Tolkien's, well, masterpiece, really, The Fellowship of the Ring.
Absolutely. And whether you've walked these paths 100 times before, or maybe you mostly know the Peter Jackson films.
Which are incredible, we should say.
Oh, definitely. Or maybe you're just sort of dipping your toes into this whole epic world now.
Our goal today is really to unpack why this story, this first part, resonates so deeply. What makes it so captivating, even now.
Exactly. It's not just about recapping the plot. We want to get into the layers, understand why it's such a foundation stone for, well, modern fantasy.
And explore its impact, the depth that's maybe hidden under that epic scale.
Right. So, first things first, when we talk Fellowship, we're primarily focusing on the book, the first volume.
Yeah, Tolkien's actual text. Of course, the Peter Jackson movie is going to come up. It's unavoidable and brilliant.
A visual marvel, absolutely. It brought Middle-earth to life for so many.
It really did. But, and this is key, if you've only seen the film, you might miss just how much more intricate, how nuanced the book's world and characters actually are.
The movie is like a fantastic adaptation, but it's still a distillation, isn't it?
Precisely. It had to be. Tolkien's vision is just so expansive.
In that vision, it starts somewhere quite unexpected, doesn't it? The Shire.
The idyllic, almost, sleepy Shire. And we meet Frodo Baggins, this hobbit who, well, kind of accidentally inherits this gold ring.
From his eccentric Uncle Bilbo, yeah. Seems harmless enough at first glance.
Right, just a trinket. But nope, it's the One Ring, forged by Sauron, the Dark Lord.
And its rediscovery basically kicks off the entire fate of Middle-earth.
And what Tolkien does so brilliantly, right from page 1, is set up this contrast. You have the innocent Shire, everything good and worth protecting.
Home, comfort, simplicity.
Exactly, against this encroaching shadow of Sauron. It's such a clever way to ground this huge fantasy story in something we all get the fear of losing home.
It really works. Yeah. And I think what elevates the story beyond just the plot are the characters. They feel so real, even the elves and dwarves.
Oh, absolutely. Tolkien's genius, partly, is making these fantastical beings feel, well, human, relatable.
Let's start with Frodo, then. He gets chosen, or maybe chooses, to carry this massive burden. But he's not a warrior, is he?
Not at all. Not in the traditional sense. Frodo's heroism isn't about swinging a sword. It's about endurance. Just sheer gut-wrenching endurance against this thing he never asked for.
It's like a quiet defiance.
Yeah.
A different kind of courage.
Yeah, resisting that internal corruption from the ring. That's his battle, mostly.
Which naturally leads us to Samwise Gamgee. You hear a lot of people say he's the real hero.
And you can see why. His loyalty to Frodo is just unwavering. That simple gardener's wisdom, that stubborn hope he carries, he's the anchor, really.
It really shows how heroism could just be about faithfulness, sticking by someone.
Definitely. Then there's Gandalf, the wizard. Wise, powerful, but also, sometimes a bit exasperated by hobbits.
Yeah. He's the guide, the mentor, the one who gets things moving. A force of nature, almost.
But deeply compassionate, too. And his fall in Moria. Wow. That's not just a plot twist.
No, it's huge. It leaves the Fellowship completely adrift, vulnerable, really hammers home the danger.
And reminds you that even the mightiest aren't safe in this quest.
So stepping into that gap, in a way,
Yeah.
is Aragorn. Initially just Strider, this mysterious ranger.
Yeah, the reluctant king. His whole journey of accepting who he is, his destiny, it really kicks off here. Choosing duty over, well, a quieter life.
And Tolkien handles that reveal, him being Isildur's heir, so perfectly. It's slow, gradual, masterful storytelling.
It really is. And you've also got Legolas and Gimli, the elf and the dwarf. Starts off frosty, to say the least.
Right, all that ancient animosity between their people.
But it slowly changes. Grudging respect, then eventually genuine friendship. It's like a mini version of the bigger picture, bridging divides against the real enemy.
Shows that unity is possible, even essential.
Then there's Boromir. Such a tragic figure. Noble, brave.
But flawed. The ring gets to him.
Exactly. He shows how that corrupting power can work even on good people, people with understandable desires, like protecting his home. It makes his fall and his final redemption so incredibly powerful.
Really poignant. And we can't forget Merry and Pippin.
Our comic relief, initially perhaps, but they're also deeply loyal friends.
They start out representing that innocence of the Shire that needs protecting.
But they grow, don't they? Show surprising bravery as things get tougher, proving even the small folk have courage.
It's just, each character feels so distinct, Complex individuals with their own fears, hopes, what they bring to the table.
And how they interact, argue, bond. That's the beating heart of the book, isn't it? Makes it all so compelling.
So the journey itself, after leaving the Shire, it feels like this desperate pilgrimage, almost a race against time.
Yeah, the tension ramps up immediately. Fleeing the Shire, those terrifying Nazgul.
The Black Riders still gives me chills.
Right. That encounter on Weathertop is harrowing. Then the desperate flight to Rivendell.
And Rivendell. That's a key moment. The hidden elvish sanctuary.
It's a turning point. The Council of Elrond happens there. Debating the ring, deciding what to do.
And forming the Fellowship. It's kind of a masterclass in exposition, actually.
It is. Tolkien weaves in all this history, prophecy, the immediate danger, but through dialogue, through the characters hashing it out, not just long info dumps.
Very smart. And from Rivendell, the real hard journey starts. Tolkien's pacing here is interesting. It's deliberate, isn't it?
Oh, very. He lets you feel the miles. You soak in Middle-earth, the landscape's changing slowly. It's not rushed.
Some people call it slow, but I think it really conveys the sheer difficulty of the quest. You feel the arduousness.
Exactly. It makes every step feel earned, and that deliberate pace, it sets up the darkness of Moria so effectively.
Oh, Moria, that whole sequence is just, wow, masterclass in building dread.
Isn't it? This ancient dwarven city, now just a tomb.
Yeah.
Goblins everywhere, and then the Balrog.
Terrifying.
And losing Gandalf there.
Yeah.
It's an absolute gut punch. Totally changes the game, shifts the whole dynamic. Suddenly, the danger feels immense, the sacrifice is real and permanent.
After all that darkness and loss, that brief stop in Lothlorien feels so important.
That glimmer of hope, yeah. The Golden Wood, it's ethereal, beautiful, a moment to breathe.
And it shows another side of Tolkien's world, right? These pockets of ancient, untouched magic still holding out against the darkness.
A stark contrast, beautifully done.
Okay, so beyond the adventure, the journey itself, Fellowship is packed with themes, isn't it? Timeless stuff that really resonates.
Absolutely. It's so much more than just an adventure story. The most obvious theme, maybe, is good versus evil.
Sauron is this pure destructive force.
Yeah, encroaching darkness. But what's interesting is how Tolkien portrays evil. It's not really creative, it just twists and corrupts what's already good.
That's a key point. It's parasitic.
Exactly. And the Fellowship, they're not perfect, they have flaws, but they embody courage, loyalty, sacrifice. The will to live and protect life.
And it's this struggle against overwhelming odds where even small acts of kindness or bravery matter hugely.
Definitely. Then there's the ring itself. It's corrupting power. It's not just a magic MacGuffin.
No, it represents power itself, doesn't it? Absolute power and how it corrupts.
That's right. You see its effect digging into Frodo, obviously. Boromir succumbs. Even Gandalf refuses to take it, knowing the danger.
Tolkien shows brilliantly how even good intentions, like Boromir wanting to save Gondor, can be twisted by that lure of power.
Makes it incredibly relevant, even today, thinking about power and its temptations.
I always come back to friendship and loyalty, though. Are those maybe the strongest forces in the book?
I'd argue they are, yeah. Sam's devotion is maybe the prime example. But also that growing bond between Legolas and Gimli, different races coming together.
That willingness to sacrifice for each other, it feels like the real counter-magic to the ring's evil.
It really does. Connection, community, loyalty. That's the antidote to the ring's isolation and corruption.
And this connects to another theme, the value of the ordinary, the hobbits. Small, unassuming.
Exactly. They're chosen, or volunteer, for the biggest burden. It underlines Tolkien's idea that greatness isn't just about strength or status.
True heroism can be found in humility, in just keeping going when things seem impossible, perseverance.
Couldn't agree more. And related to that, there's the theme of nature versus, well, corruption or destructive industry.
Right, the Shire and Lothlorien representing natural beauty and purity.
Constantly under threat from the machine, you could say.
Yeah.
Mordor, Isengard, they feel industrial, destructive.
And knowing Tolkien's background, his love for nature and languages, that really comes through. It feels personal.
It does, like a lament for the damage being done to the natural world, but also a celebration of its resilience.
And what's great is that none of these themes feel like hammered home. They're just woven into the story.
Or organically, yeah. You discover them as you read, reflect on them. It's what lifts it beyond just fantasy into real literature, I think.
So let's talk about Tolkien's craft. What makes Fellowship specifically such a masterpiece? The world building has to be near the top.
Oh, unparalleled, surely. He didn't just write a story, he built an entire functioning world. Languages, history, mythology, geography.
It's meticulous. It feels like Middle-earth existed long before this story even started. That gives it incredible depth, realism almost.
Exactly. And his use of language, the prose itself is so rich, evocative, often quite poetic.
And he gives each culture its own voice, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Hobbits sound different from elves, who sound different from dwarves.
Absolutely. From the simple, earthy talk of hobbits to the, ancient lyrical speech of the elves and the songs, the poems scattered throughout.
They add so much texture, makes the world feel lived in, full of tradition.
Totally. And thinking bigger picture, Fellowship and Lord of the Rings overall basically invented modern high fantasy as we know it.
It really laid the groundwork, didn't it? For countless books, games, films that came after.
Its influence is just immense. It proved fantasy could be serious, epic, deeply meaningful, not just, kids stuff or pure escapism.
But even the ending of this specific book, The Fellowship of the Ring, it's quite something.
It really is. The breaking of the Fellowship at Amon Hen. It's powerful, heartbreaking.
It's not neat and tidy at all. It's messy, tragic in ways.
And it perfectly sets up the stakes for the next 2 books, leaves you hanging, desperate to know what happens next. Brilliant structural move.
So The Fellowship of the Ring is way more than just